And again, uh, every team's are going to have to make some decisions here over the next, let's call it, 5 days. And, we're not exempt from that. So in the case of those 3 players, I think we did what we felt was best for the team. And we're going to continue to do that moving forward.
Brian, from a personal standpoint, I imagine Saturday will be an excruciating day given how much you care about your players. Can you talk, especially when you're dealing with players who've given everything that they have and there just isn't a spot for them in the roster? Can you talk about really that experience, and are you dreading it? It's got to be excruciating.
Dreading it isn't the word I would use. I would say, and I think I talked to you guys about this in the spring. This is, in football, you learn a lot about life. You learn a lot about, it teaches you a lot of life lessons, I should say. One is that you can do everything. You can do everything right. You can work hard. You can put the team first. You can do everything right. You can work as hard as you possibly can. You can come to meetings early. You can stay late. You can do all these things, and sometimes things don't work out. That's life. That's not just football. Bless you, Armando. That's not just. It's not just football. So, when I have those conversations, when we have those conversations, yes, they're hard conversations. That's another thing about life is sometimes you have to have hard conversations, and you gotta, as long as you're dealing in truth and you're being honest, then you can have those conversations. So, excruciating. These aren't words I would use. I would say these are hard conversations, and I think as long as we're honest about our process, and I tell each guy, look, one door closes, another one's going to open up, and I think a lot of times when you fail, you're better for it, and I think that's something that when I failed, I've been better for it, and that's the approach I take in those conversations.
Brian, offensively, you've been missing a lot of personnel. Defensively, I think we've seen a glimpse of what you guys can do and what you want to do. Do you know what you can do offensively, and are there 1 or 2 things that you could say right now this offense does well as far as run blocking or mid-range pass game or anything along those lines?
I think there's a lot of things we could do better. I think there's a lot of things we could do better offensively, defensively, in the kicking game. There's some things I could coach better. So we're all in this together. We have not arrived. We have not made it. It's still very early. We've got a preseason game, Thursday night. We're going to try to improve and get better from that standpoint. But we can improve in really all areas. And that starts with me. So I'm not going to take myself off the hook on that either.
Is there something that you think that this offense does pretty well right now? Or elements?
There's a lot of things I think we do well. A lot. A lot goes into offensive, football. I think, for instance, I think, when we got the ball in our hands, we've got guys who can make people miss, from Balaj to Drake to Jakeem to, Parker. We do that well. Mark Walton. But again, that's one thing. We can get into blocking and protection and, route running and, audibling and 7-man protection, 6-man protection, 5-man protection, 2-back sets, 2-back run game, 1-back run game, bunches, stacks. We can get into a lot of things that, little areas, and that's what they are, little pieces and little spots within an offense. And some things we do well, some things we don't do well, but at the end of the day, you got to put all of it together for the whole thing to work well. So again, in the different pockets from O-line, receivers, tight end, back, quarterback, all of it's got to work together. We got to improve in all areas, and really got to improve as a unit. So.
Which quarterbacks are scheduled to play Thursday?
See a lot of Jake Rudock. Did we check on? Yeah. Well, Fitz is he's dealing with an illness right now, so you may not see him today. He's going to try to fight through this thing, but just so you guys know, you may not see him out there. And then Josh, good chance you'll see Josh Thursday.
Will Josh start because of Ryan's illness?
That's yet to be determined. We're still kind of figuring that out.
Is there a starting quarterback you've decided on yet? Have you decided on starting quarterback? I guess was probably
for the
should
season?
ask you every day. For the
No,
regular.
we haven't decided on that yet.
A couple of talented guys who we haven't seen. Nkemdiche, since he's been signed, have we not seen him yet merely because of the knee, or are there conditioning issues? And also, will we see Cordray Tankersley play at all for this team this year, do you think?
Both those guys are on PUP, so they have to come off of it for us to put them on the field. So, but they're both working, and I think they're both making a lot of progress. So I'm looking forward to seeing both of those guys when they get out there.
When trading away, or hypothetically, when trading away veterans, is the 6th or 7th round pick, a later round pick, adequate compensation for a player that is proven that can contribute, or are you trying to hang on to kind of those players because the value of that pick may not be as valuable?
There's a lot that goes into answering that question, and the Cliff Notes. There's a lot that goes into it. Well, my mind's starting to think about the 6th and 7th round picks who have been fairly good players. There's one that comes to mind actually. So I'm just trying to So that's kind of where I'm at. So I guess it's what everyone's definition of value is. And again, we're all a little bit different, so your definition may be different than mine, and everyone's in this room's definition could be a little bit different. So, but again, it's case by case. It really is. And there's some things, and again, conversations that we have internally about the makeup of the team, salary cap, as we talked about yesterday. Development of younger guys that you may or may not know about. All of that kind of plays in. So, and as well as the compensation, if that's happens to be the case in a particular transaction. So there's a lot that goes into it. I guess that is the Cliff Notes version, but there's just a lot more. That's a much longer conversation. We can have it if you like. So. All right. Yeah.
I have
Matt set it up.
I have questions that are not specific to this game of this week, if you'll indulge me. One is, how would you describe the approach you want players to take into their meetings?
I want them to have their pen and notepads ready to go. I want them to be attentive in meetings. I want them to ask questions. I want them to the questions are the big thing for me. I think in order to really excel, you have to gain understanding. In order to gain understanding, you have to ask questions. I think that's the one thing for young players a lot of times, and it's the same for young kids. This was the first week of school. Last week was the first week of school. I'm pretty sure I have one son who's afraid to ask questions and one son who's not. And that's just in my home. And I remember being a kid and, asking questions and not asking questions. And I think in order to gain some understanding of whatever the topic is, you need to ask questions. So I want him to be attentive. Yeah.
I said that sometimes you and the members of your staff will put them on a spot with a question maybe about the opponent that's very specific. What
Yeah.
goes into that?
Well, I think if you knew you were going to get asked questions, you might prepare a little bit harder and make sure you have the answers. I think that's part of what goes into that. I don't want to call it not fear-based, but I think if there's a chance you could get put on the spot to answer that question, and you can prepare a little bit harder. Hopefully we get to a point where that's not the case and guys are just, they have the answers because they want the answers, because having those answers will help them in the game.
In terms of doing things the right way, a couple of guys mentioned that early on. You made it clear, do not park in those handicap spots. Can you tell me what went into that? I know sometimes I'm running late.
Parking handicap
I will
spot?
not do it. I have not done here.
Well, I've got an aunt that's handicapped, and if she can't park because you're parking there, I'm going to be very upset. Very upset. And your car's out of there. So I think that's fair. I do. So I'll leave it right there.
With the quarterback competition, a couple of players kind of are. Joe hasn't parked the handicap spots.
I mean, when people bring it up, I think it's silly. I really do. We have to do the right thing. All right? And it's just like we have to do the right thing. I don't. And if we allow people to not do the right thing, then we're doing a disservice to the world. Period. And I don't even like to joke about it because it's not a joking matter.
Brian, how does Fitz's illness, and not being able maybe to practice today, not being able to play on Thursday, maybe, I don't know. How does that affect your evaluation of the quarterback competition?
It's an illness. There's nothing we can do about it. So, his evaluation will be what it's been over the last, the spring and the training camp. So, I think he's done a lot. I think we know what it is. This training camp, along with his obviously his history in this league. So, I think we got a good evaluation of Fitz, and that won't affect him much.
Some of the players say that they see both sides of starting Fitz, starting Rosen. Are you kind of tussling with it the same way, where you see both sides and that's making the decision?
I think that's the case for all positions. Player A has these strengths and weaknesses. Player B has these strengths and weaknesses. And as an organization, we have to do what we think is best for the team. You go with one, and here's the good, here's the bad. You go with the other, here's the good, here's the bad. Well, what's best for the entire unit? And that's at every position, not just quarterback. So, thank you.